Come with me as I travel ear canal to ear canal on the Journeyman Highway. It's calling all marks.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, before you, we have the greatest
show
of all time. We have a man that in his own modest way can tell you...
I don't like it. I'm just telling you the truth.
You like it?
No! Listen to my fucking ranting. Listen to what you do to me. I don't believe you anymore.
Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in.
Hosted by
this guy that ran with every woman that would have him from the time he was 15. You like it?
Yeah.
You want one?
And 90,000 people watching.
Woo.
In my moment of glory. Yeah, no, I'm living a nightmare.
I don't trust you. The fuck is that? You make me want to smoke. You fucked my damn...
Justin Draven.
Wow, Mr. Sarcasm.
The protest signs didn't work. They're just as loud and obnoxious and ignorant as ever. But I'm still here to bring you some audio entertainment. And I gotta start off tonight's show by calling out two entities, and that would be Walmart and AEW. Because I've gone to at least 5 different stores in 3 different states, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, and I have yet to find an AEW action figure. Stock full of the belts and rings, no action figures. I believe they were promised to be delivered to Walmarts nationwide in September. And don't blame it on Corona. Like I said, you're chock full of the fucking rings and the belts. How embarrassing does that look for you guys when WWE is stocked and they have an empty shelf or an empty space where it says AEW, nothing there in every store? Got it all over ringsidecollectibles.com though, for like $25 to $30 a piece, which is ridiculous for anyone to assume that you're gonna sell gangbusters of action figures to people no one even knows. The only bankable character is Jericho, which coincidentally is the character I keep going to look for, and they only want 20 at Walmart. So is that your hustle? Driving to Ringside Collectibles, got a little deal going with them. Drive up the traffic to their website, they give you a little kickback on top of what you sell. I think that's what's going on. And yes, I collect figures, but not like a little fucking mark or nerd like Matt Cardona where you gotta get every single one. I just collect select ones. I got some Terminator, Friday the 13th, Alien, King Kong. I got a broken Matt Hardy in there. Bunch of stuff like that. I don't have every single series of every single wrestling figure of every single era. No, I don't. No. I'm not a fucking nerd like that. I just get the ones that I like and I set them up in my movie room with all my movie posters. Not movie posters, they're more like they're framed. Try to make it look like a little theater in there. I don't have that many right now, but I'm getting some more. I got a really awesome Labyrinth because my wife loves that movie. I have this really cool Jessica Rabbit one. It's kind of all tilt, like a Dutch tilt, and it says I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way. It's amazing, I love it. And of course I have the old school King Kong, and then of course because I'm an 80s baby I got a Masters of the Universe. It's dope. Don't hate me. I think that shit's fire. I collect comics. And let me tell you something. If you like comic books, I'll tell you a good arc to look into. The Green Lanterns. Okay, but not any Green Lanterns. The Green Lantern Corps. And then in them, you have all of the Lantern Corps. That's what you should look into, because I have discovered the Red Lanterns, the Lanterns of Rage, and I am hooked. That shit is dope. If you're into good story arcs, look up to Red Lanterns. Those are pretty fun. And if you don't know who those are, if you play video games, if you play the Injustice franchise, Injustice 2, Atrocitus, the leader of the Red Lantern Corps, is actually a playable character in that game. And he's awesome. One of my favorite. Him and Batman in the game. Well, actually, like a lot of characters in the game, but Batman's one, not one of. He's my favorite character of all time ever. And speaking of that, I've been wanting to see the Snyder Cut a lot. I keep hearing it's amazing. I keep hearing if you liked Justice League, you'll love the Snyder Cut. I keep hearing if you hated the Justice League, you're going to hate the Snyder Cut even more. I was indifferent about the Justice League, so I don't know how I'm going to be about the Snyder Cut, but I don't have 4 hours to dedicate to watching a movie. All my free time has been going to making these videos, so I'll see it eventually. I'll tell you what I do want to see. I want to see the Batman with Twilight himself, Robert Pattinson, because the first trailer that they showed, it looks pretty intense, and I was taken off guard to how good it could be with that kid or that guy as Bruce Wayne / Batman. But I felt the same way about Ben Affleck because, he's another one who's just fun to hate on. But I thought his Bruce Wayne was amazing, and I thought his Batman was sick. Like, jacked up, vicious. A lot of people didn't see it that way, but... And I was excited for his Batman movie, too, because he's an Oscar-winning writer and director. Come on. The movie would have been pretty good, I'm sure. I'm sorry that I don't have much wrestling to talk about today, because like I said, I didn't watch AEW, and whoever is in charge of AEW's social media page is slacking. Their YouTube really didn't have much. I saw a few highlights, and I will tell you that the show looked really good. Aside from the Arcade Anarchy, the show looked really good. I can't hate, so good job, guys. I will say, though, to bring it back to a previous episode, when I said that Chuck Taylor, looks like Fix-It Felix Jr., and it's a shame that there wasn't a girl in the Best Friends, because then he would have a Dynamite Gal. Well, guess what? He does have a girl, and it's Trent's mom with her minivan. She's his Dynamite Gal. I thought that was pretty funny. It's like they were talking to me. And if you marks don't believe me, why don't you go back at the timestamp of when I released my show and when Dynamite aired. That's why I kind of feel vindicated about how the match with QT Marshall went down. Because he went overboard. Arn Anderson didn't turn on him, but boy did QT Marshall go way overboard. Told you. He was going to have to. The only thing that they could do with that, if Cody would have won, like he normally does, that would have made me rage quit. In the last week or so, I don't know which podcast it was. It might have been the one with Brian Alvarez, that he said they were going to split the Nightmare Family. That's a pretty specific guess. So I'm definitely thinking Meltzer and Alvarez are talking to AEW, because, I mean, let's face it, it's not like they're getting real scoops. It's wrestling, I get it. But I don't know, some things, who would have guessed except the person who writes it? Like, who would have guessed that the Nightmare Family would have gotten split up? Is that a shot in the dark that paid off? Or is that inside information that you're trying to spoil ahead of time just so you can get a little bit of extra clout for your channel? That's fine. I mean, I respect that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But that's what it seems like to me. It doesn't seem like you're just that good at thinking of storylines and plots. It just seems like you have some inside information. That's what it seems like to me. And again, that's why I don't want to fall into the fray of being one of those kinds of channels, because A, I don't have time to find scoops. I don't have time to search the internet. Yeah, I'll glance at the internet and I'll mess around with like meme sites and stuff like that, but I don't have time to go looking for people who are exactly who they claim they say they are on Twitter or whatever to give me fake scoops and rumors. I don't know anyone on the inside of any company, so why would I bother trying to make anything up like that, or trying to make up stuff, or stressing about content for clips when the exact same channel is not the exact same channel, but the exact same content is going to be on 3 other channels, because they're all racing to be the first ones to get this content out. That's why I'm stress-free with this. That's why my stuff is different. I don't need to lock myself down and worry, oh, well, what's this top 10 gonna be? Or what's this next subject gonna be? I told you. I just turn the mic on and I go. That's all. That's all you need to do. Well, don't tell anyone, because then they're gonna start taking my method. I'd like to be unique. I don't care. If anyone does, I'll switch it up and I'll do something different. But I still like this, going free, open. We get to know each other a little bit more. I have a conversation with you. I don't just talk at you with random facts. And that's another, like, I love Jim Cornette. I love listening to him roast people all day. But, again, he's just talking at the audience. He's talking to Brian Last, but he's talking at the audience. No, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to personally talk to you. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm not even saying like they talk at you like disrespectfully or condescendingly or anything like that. I think all their stuff is great. I just don't think it's very personal, if that makes sense. I don't want to just be, that's that guy. I want to be like, oh, hey, yo, hey, that's him. That's him. I don't know, it might be crazy, I guess. Naive, hopeful. Is it wrong to be hopeful? Have you ever been hopeful for something and been disappointed? I have. I think Wrestlemania has peaked at 18. I don't think anything good after 18. There's a few good, memorable matches, but as for the quality of the matches, quality of the card, the caliber of the talent, they were done at 18, and now they're trying to copy New Japan with the 2-day WrestleManias and the 2 main events and the 2 hosts. I think it's a gimmick done too late, in my opinion. It's like they're pulling at straws now. And then I hear, well, I don't hear, it's everywhere, so everybody's heard it. The Peacock is censoring all of the older stuff. Oh, good luck trying to find your favorite clips now. That's what greed gets you. Remember when I was talking about greed? That's what greed gets you. Vince McMahon got greedy, sold the network, and now NBC owns the library. Silly. Yeah, it makes sense monetarily. You gotta think of the ethics of it. Yeah, they censored stuff on the WWE network, but they still had a huge majority of the stuff. Stuff that you loved, I loved. Stuff that we remembered as kids. Now what? Where do they go from here? What happens if millions of people, well, I don't know if there's millions, but let's say a significant amount of people cancel Peacock because they're disappointed with the way the WWE network is laid out on their platform? What happens if stock starts to tank? What happens if, I don't know, what happens to the library? Does it revert back to WWE? Do they relaunch the network? Are people still going to have faith in them? I don't know. That's what I was talking about with being greedy. Vince wanted all that money. He didn't think about the fans. I think that's another reason why WWE is failing. I truly do. And it sucks because they were the mainstay forever. And WrestleMania was the show. It was the event. And I think they peaked at 18. I don't think anything good really has happened after 18. The events themselves weren't memorable. There were a few memorable matches. But I can't remember the full event, really. I can't remember any full event. I can remember moments like the Taker versus Shawn's and the CM Punk on Taker, or the Edge versus Mick Foley where they go to the table spot. I can remember stuff like that. The streak being broken. I remember stuff like that. I don't remember the full event. Like, the first event I can remember even trying to watch live, and I'm going to be dating well, I'm not that old. I'm 34, but I'm from an era where I still had the cable box. So it's not all digital, so I'm confusing the kids now. I watch the Scrambled channels. So, which one was it where they were in Las Vegas at the Trump? I think it was 9. I remember watching that, Scrambled. So that was the first WrestleMania I can remember trying to watch as a little kid. And then the one I remember actually watching live was 10. So that one's my favorite. You had Randy Savage as the special referee, I believe, for Brett and Owen. Or was that, no, I think that was Roddy Piper maybe. Somebody was a special referee. You had Brett and Owen opened it. And then Macho Man fought Crush. And then they had a Bill Clinton impersonator. Then they had the ladder match, the infamous ladder match. And I believe Brett was Yokozuna. I forget what the main event was. But I think Brett wrestled twice. But the whole show was based and predicated on that ladder match. And that was so fresh and new and exciting. So that's 100% memorable and engraved in my mind. And then 12, you had the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with Goldust and Roddy Piper. You had Stone Cold going against Savio Vega. And I believe the strap match. I think that was that one. You had the Iron Man match. Like, that's insane. That was an amazing WrestleMania. That's definitely my favorite, hands down, just because of the Iron Man match. And then 14, you know what I mean? You had Owen and Hunter for the European title. Then you had Sonny, and oh my God, and that LOD, remember that? You wouldn't have that reaction today if you wore that outfit. Then you had the dumpster match with freaking New Age Outlaws, like, I believe a day before they joined DX. They beat the shit out of Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack. Then you had everything with Austin and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels' last match. And I keep hearing interviews where Shawn says that he doesn't like that match and Austin doesn't really like that match, but as a kid when you're watching it, you don't really know, and that match was still amazing, and Shawn was hurt. So, 14 was great. And then, I don't even remember 16 except the ladder match. 17 was really not much except Austin Rock, TLC 2, and then like Vince versus Shane. That was nothing really memorable. Well, I mean, those were the memorable spots I can remember. 19, what was 19? I think Austin Rock, and I think that was the one where The Rock won. That's it. That was peak Mania. Like, legitimately. They don't really have marquee names anymore. Like, okay, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair are main eventing night 1 of WrestleMania. Okay, good for them, but is it really going to be that big? Yeah, it's monumental. You know, another women's main event, but I don't think it's that special, in my opinion. I think the whole women's revolution in wrestling has hit its peak as well. I'll be honest, I think that's hit its peak. I don't think the women can go any further than what they've done. What else can they do? They've main evented WrestleMania now. Where else can they go from there? They can still remain great at what they do and putting on great matches, but they've plateaued. There's nothing to achieve in women's wrestling anymore. And now they're main eventing WrestleMania. I don't even know what the rest of the card is for either night. I don't care. I know the girls are main eventing one night and Roman Edge the next, or Roman Daniel Bryan, or Roman Daniel and Edge. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care about any match on the card, and that's what I'm trying to say. They peaked at 18. What do you think? What was your favorite Mania? I know a lot of people like 3 because of Hogan, and I believe mainly Savage and Steamboat. I don't know. I could be off too. I have so many memories of wrestling that they all just blend together now. But I think a lot of people like 3. I've watched it. It's very uneventful, but for the same reason I like 10. That's why people like 3. It was new, exciting, fresh. I don't know. Do you have a favorite Mania? Or a favorite match? Do you agree with me if Mania has peaked? Which I think it did. What do you think about them copying New Japan with the 2-night main events, or the 2-night WrestleMania event? I know as a kid I would have loved it. Now it just seems like it's too much. And each day is like fucking 7 hours. Who's got that much time? I don't have that much time. It's called oversaturation. It's the problem with Cody. He got in his head that he was bigger than wrestling, or a bigger star than he is. And I'm not saying he's not good. I like him. I actually have every one of his Bullet Club shirts, and I'm a fan. I'm rooting for him. I hope he does better than what he's doing now. I think he needs to cut the douchey entrance out just to pay-per-views, because I'm sick of waiting 45 seconds to a minute and a half for him to come through the floor on a Dynamite. And now he's got the Go Big show, and he's got the reality show with his wife. Like, people are gonna get sick of him. Like, sick of him. And not for nothing, I seen a preview of the reality show, and it looks atrocious. Sorry guys, Cody, Brandy, but that's not a good look. It's not. It looks very pretentious. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way about the entire thing. with Cody being everywhere and bigger than he thinks he is. But I will say, if Tony Khan is throwing all this money to get a TV show on another network, plus a reality show for Cody for a storyline, it's fucking genius. But I don't think that's what that is. What I think that is I actually agree with Brian last. I think they want to be Triple H and Stephanie McMahon so bad that they're just going to do everything that they think they would do. And the only thing that they're actually doing is something that Triple H wouldn't do. And that's work with NWA, Impact Wrestling, New Japan. That's something that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon wouldn't do, and that's something that AEW is doing, and that's better. And I have to say this because I just mentioned NWA. Is someone reading my mind? Because I mentioned 2 shows ago where NWA is. I'm like, where are they? I really like them. All their content is off of their YouTube channel. Well, I see in one of these Facebook pages today that NWA released a show yesterday. So I'm going to check that out a little bit later. I was very excited to hear that. It's like someone's listening to me. And if someone is listening to me, push Brian Meyers. I like Brian Meyers. I like Eric Young. I like EC3. Push them. Mainly Brian Meyers. I think he's very underrated. I don't think people give him enough love. They're all infatuated with Matt Cardona because of his Long Island Guido gimmick, Zack Ryder. And speaking of Zack Ryder, he keeps talking all this trash about the internet title. I'll tell you what he should... Corona also screwed this up. But when he was released, he should have went on NWA, Impact, AEW. He should have went... if they wanted him, they should have went to New Japan. Should have went to Ring of Honor. Should have went to Reality of Wrestling. He should have went to the What Culture events. He should have went to the Wrestling with Regret events, defending that internet title before he made his way to a company full time. I think that would have been awesome. Or he should have went on all the wrestling internet shows and defended it. I think that would have been cool. But that was a wasted opportunity that he didn't capitalize on. I still like him. I don't like how people like him more than Brian Meyers. I think Brian Meyers is very underrated. He reinvents himself. When Matt Cardona showed up on AEW the first time, he was still doing that corny LI thing. You gotta change your gimmick, buddy. You can't hold on to the Long Island Guido douchebag. Unless that's natural for you. If you don't have to work at it, more power to you, but I'd work at changing that gimmick. What do you guys think? You can write me in the comment section below. I like him. I think he needs to reinvent his character a little bit more to really, really, really hit the next level. I'm not going to be mean about him. Like I said, I really like him. I just think he should have floated around more with the internet title. Otherwise, it's a useless prop. We're just going to defend it on the Major Figure podcast. It's not fun. Oh, as a callback to one of my other videos, as I was also watching the highlights of AEW Dynamite, is Red Velvet Brandy's sister? Or her stunt double or something? Because she's definitely her stand-in from the entire gimmick. Look, face, clothes. I just found it weird. When I was watching the highlights, I seen her jump and try to help Cody. That definitely would have been Brandy. And I think that's why Red Velvet was in that position. Because she strikes a very strong resemblance to Brandy. I don't know if I'm the only one who's caught that one yet. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's caught the fact that I like to jump around a little bit. A lot like Everlast. But it's only because, like I said, I like to be more personable. Maybe I can circle back to a topic. That's why I like the freeform conversation as well, because I can just bounce all over the place. I don't need to just give you a subject and then go down the list about 5 different reasons or whatever. I like the freeform conversation style, method, whatever you want to call it, because I can talk about anything and then segue into anything and then bring it back. It's endless of the conversations that we can have with this kind of format. So I think I'm going to stick to it. I'll just bounce around, do a whole bunch of different thoughts on different things, and you guys can give me your thoughts in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at Rowdy Maserati. We can discuss the topics you heard in the video. Any of the videos that you've heard. And I'll be there to talk your ears off. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. Within reason. Don't get all crazy on me. But it's fun to do this. To connect with people. And if I can bring fun to one person's day just from talking shit about wrestling and giving my silly opinions or hearing theories that I've heard are out there, why not? Who am I hurting? Except all these other YouTube channels pretty soon, because I'm starting to find my footing in doing this, and they're going to have to step their game up and get on my level, because they're not being as personable with their listeners like I'm doing, or like I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring back the love that I had for wrestling when I was a pimply, awkward just teenager. I don't even know how old I was when I met Chris Jericho when he was promoting Wrestlemania 20. That's the only thing I remember about Wrestlemania 20, because I got a book for $75 at a bookstore that he was appearing at doing signings. He signed my book, and I asked him about his ferrets, like a good little mark. And he was great. He was amazing. He was awesome. That's why he's remained at the top of my list as one of my heroes. Because he was awesome. You know what I mean? He was interacting with his fans. He didn't have to be nice and be like, my ferrets. Like, you waited all this time to ask me about my ferrets, you nerd? No, he was wicked cool. You ever meet anyone that hasn't been cool? Like a wrestler that hasn't been cool to you? I hear that happens a lot too. I actually heard people who've met Chris Jericho didn't like him. What do you think? You ever meet him? I also met him in like a professional setting where he was working, so I don't know. It's sad when people get upset when they meet someone that they like and they're not how they appear to be on TV. Or it's just a complete opposite interaction than what you were hoping for. It just usually sours how that person sees that wrestler from then on. And it sucks because we're not always 100% good, and we're not all always 100% bad. So now this wrestler could potentially lose a fan because they didn't interact with them 100% up to the fan standard. And it's just, it can be toxic sometimes. And that's the part of the business that I don't like to be a part of. Like I said, I'll criticize something from a fan's perspective, but I didn't add anything to the business, so I can't really critique them to like a savage level like Jim Cornette would, because he's added to the business. I do think he should get over the fact that wrestling is not how it was in the 80s. And not for nothing, I've seen some old Midnight Express matches from both iterations of the team. And it's nothing special, so I don't know why he keeps looking back at those as if they were the glory days. Maybe because that's the time he lived in, and he lived it. Makes sense. That's why I like the Attitude Era. But the athletes were also better in the Attitude Era than they were in the 80s. So I think Jim Cornette needs to come off of his ivory tower and actually work with AEW in particular. Because I think he has a lot that he could still add to the business. And if they came off their high horse and actually listened to him and worked with him and didn't think that they knew everything in the fucking world, I think AEW could be doing some damage. Because the shot's already gone off. You know what I mean? It's already in play. Big Show was the catalyst of WCW going under. Because he was one of the first to leave. And then everybody else started leaving. So he left WWE. And then Christian came. Those are pretty big names to lose. You know what I mean? Who's coming next? Is history going to repeat itself? You think that? I don't know to the extent to where WWE is going to go out of business, but I think they're definitely going to fall down from prominence, especially when Vince hands over the reins to whoever gets control of the company. I think once Vince is finally officially done, I think it's over for WWE. I think actually that's why they've been selling it off to the Peacock. I think that's why they've been selling stock. I think they've been putting the chips into position to where they're about to cash out. I think Hunter might get the rights to NXT, and he'll go off and do his own thing with NXT. But for WWE, I think it's going to go even more corporate than what it is now. I think they're going to just become part of a conglomerate. And it'll be nothing like it was ever before or ever again. And then it brings me back to my previous question before. What happens next? What happens with the library? How do we find all of the older stuff? How will it be available? Will we ever be able to find the older stuff again? Can we ever access the history of wrestling? If it goes Disney. Let's say it goes Disney. We lose. But we also are then left with AEW, IMPACT, NWA, and Ring of Honor to a lesser extent to pick up the pieces and rebuild a business. So there is always brighter sides to the story. So that's always a positive. And speaking of positives, I am 100% positive that all these fans chanting for CM Punk to come back are wasting your breath and your time. I think he's done. It's over. He's waited too long. He keeps trying to hold out to build up his brand. The UFC debut and then re-debut went atrocious for him. That was his plan, to go to UFC and come back a bigger star like Brock did, but I don't think he expected to get beat up twice. And now he's just holding out, and he's waiting too long, and by the time he comes back, it's going to be uneventful. So I figured I would just touch topic on that one. I think he is gone. Gone for good. And he just seemed bitter about it. And cries a lot, I see. I mean, acts like he doesn't care, but he does. He's another one like Bret Hart. Those two are going to tarnish their legacies by being crybabies. Stubborn. Bret Hart would have went down in the history books as one of the greatest wrestlers, and he probably still will, but he tarnishes that legacy with being a fucking crybaby. Wow. I am all over the place tonight. Well, with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed it at least. Get to know each other a little bit better every episode gone. So, if you could, give us a like, comment, subscribe. And I'll be back again to fill your ears with my sensual voice. And some wrestling facts. Because like I said, it doesn't always have to be about wrestling, but I just showed my own hypocrisy by circling back and bringing it back to wrestling again. I just so happen to be all over the place today because my mind is racing. It happens. I threw out some good subjects in there, though, if you sift through. So, that's just one more thing I can add to the list of being different to other YouTube channels. Who else do you know calls himself out for their own bullshit and hypocrisy? Man, now if only the government would